Hello, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us to the presentation how to automate processes in a BI competence center using Microsoft Analytics and AnalyticsCreator. So first of all, I show you some slides and explain AnalyticsCreator in a nutshell. And after that, we will come, as I mentioned, the main processes of BI Competence Center. So AnalyticsCreator is a data warehouse automation technology, and you automate not only the data warehouse, you automate also the analytical applications on top. Yeah. It's made for experts, of course, and it can also be used without expert knowledge. We will come later to that. AnalyticsCreator is working as a source code generator. So you have a graphical user interface, and the outcome of this is a generated code instead of programming everything manually. AnalyticsCreator orchestrates the full life cycle of a data warehouse, of data marts and the data lake houses. So the design process, the development process, the change, and also the deployment process. So AnalyticsCreator can use by optimize the agility of developing a data warehouse. It's not only to replacing old-fashioned ETL. I had just a discussion on this case with Gartner, the big analyst in US, just last week, and they will do a review about our technology, and they said to us that the customer in US focusing more and more to data warehouse automation, and in main cases they want to optimize the development process, this design process, the agility on that all. And if you are finished with this document, for sure you can download it on our webpage on the resources page. So I give you some example. We have 3 examples here. I will introduce you. This is the customer Bosch, Robert Bosch. I have not the logo here, but I can tell it to you. This is a very, very interesting case. We decided with the customer together to do everything new on an existing project because we calculated that it's better to create a new data warehouse with the automated way instead of modernize the existing one. The existing one was not that so old, just 2 years old, but some processes are running and the architecture was not so really nice. So we have done everything new, and the outcome was there in 3 months instead of 12 months, and this was a big success. And also this project is running today. This is the largest project of Bosch in the space Microsoft Analytics and Microsoft data warehousing. They have now more than 5,000 users on this data warehouse, which is supported by AnalyticsCreator. The next one is a small medium company. They have 800 employees at the moment, not so small for a food company. They started from the scratch. They had really nothing in place, just some cubes, but not a data warehouse. And they were beginners in data warehousing, and they have to study first what's about data warehousing, and AnalyticsCreator helped them so much to start their journey and to achieve their targets much more faster. Yeah, so AnalyticsCreator is also a learning device for beginners, and can also be used. We have, for example, in education, departments, universities, schools, AnalyticsCreator will be also used as a learning device, for students. And they had just 4 days training from us, and they have done everything by themselves. And after 3 months, they finished the first part of the data warehouse, of the sales data warehouse. And now every department of my Muesli is supported by a data warehouse, which is developed by AnalyticsCreator. So we have another customer which use many instances of SAP. They are in the real estate domain. The target was there to create an ingest layer on Microsoft Azure and to ingest many tables and databases from SAP. And they reported to us they were 20 times faster. This is really crazy. We never heard about that. So we tried to do a sandbox and recorded this video. And you find this video in our YouTube channel, so you can see how it's possible to do something like this 20 times faster. So we have take part 4 times in a row at the BARC Data Management Survey, started in the year 2019, 2020, 22, and now 23. This is the next year, and this survey will come out at the 18th of October. You can download all the survey on our webpage on the resources. I would say we won there 4 times in a row, always the first place. Yeah, we are listed highly up in the right upper corner. Okay, there's SAP HANA there, but we really don't know what SAP is doing there. They have no automation engine, so we are the only one. With other competitors, and this is really fine for us. And the detail, there's a 10-20 page document you can download from our webpage. So now we come to the 12 main processes. I think there are a little bit more. I started with 12. Let's see how it works manually in a business intelligence competence center. First of all, you need a requirement document, of course. Maybe not a very detailed one, but if you use agile development process, you have a requirement document. But this has to be done manually in a Word document or something else, VCO or design documents. With AnalyticsCreator, you have a possibility to model a top-down view on your business. You can add your dimension, your measures and everything, and you can play around with this without having a connection to the source data, to the real data. So it's sandboxing. It's something you can play around, and the outcome is something like a requirement document. The next is that you have to think about which functionality you want to offer to the end user, and depend on the requirement document. And if this is, I would say, not too spectacular, what you will do, you will, as a developer, you will not grow up a data warehouse which is very high sophisticated. Yeah? And you do it very fast that you achieve the requirements and the solution for the user. But later on, what happens when the requirement change and the business people want to have more? So you have to redo the design process, the development process, and everything. So with AnalyticsCreator, you have everything the maximum. Yeah, you get automated always the maximum approach what is possible with historization concepts, with that advanced analytics is possible. If you want to implement this on manually, this is a huge work, and AnalyticsCreator automate this also. So you have to think on standardization. This means standardization, how you name your fields, your tables, how you write your code as a developer. Yeah, what is allowed, what is not allowed, which architecture, standard architecture you want to use. With AnalyticsCreator it's different. You have a standardization for naming fields, tables. It's not out of the box. Yeah, AnalyticsCreator, you have a place where you name your fields, your tables, and everything, and everything will, when the code will generate it, you will see always the same type of names and fields and tables, and also of course the architecture. Yeah, you can choose the architecture, and it's everything every time the same. And if a developer see how it's made, it's very open and yeah, not different. So for example, if you have 5 developers on a project, every developer have his own experience, and every developer want to do a little bit his own. Yeah, the other one want to create from this type of book, and the other one from this type of book, or from the consultancy have worked before, so they get a mix. And with AnalyticsCreator we have a standard architecture and coding process at all. So what's about master data historization? That means if you want to do advanced analytics or a little bit more, you have to historize all your master data. So it means when the content change in the tables, that you have to develop this process. You have to, for example, to add a timestamp to a record. If the data change, what happens? Will be the record updated, or will the record with a new date added to the database? There are a lot of different possibilities, and you have to develop this by your own as a developer. And I would say this is a must for a data warehouse in these days. And AnalyticsCreator do this everything automatically, so you have to do nothing. There is a standard historization process. You can choose between 5 or 6 different historization concepts. You just say, I want to have this one or that one, and the code will be generated automatically. For example, if you have a data warehouse, you develop without and with historization, it means I would say 25% or 30% more time invest. Yeah, and with AnalyticsCreator, nothing. Yeah, just check the checkbox. So agile development. If you are, I would say the most of the projects are agile today, and in the data warehouse development process, if you have a bit larger project, you will have not really good results after a sprint of 1 week. Yeah, what you can show after 1 week from the beginning, not really much. Yeah, and with AnalyticsCreator, the agile process is supported very good. You have a result in hours. Yeah, you have a result in days instead of weeks, and this helps really much to come very fast forward. So yeah, when you want to integrate your source data, what do you have to do? You have to connect manually to the source data. You have to find out what's in the columns, in the fields, and you have to describe it. You have to name it in the field names, and you think about it, how to transform the data from the source to the target, to the Microsoft SQL database. And this is a lot of work. This is really many work, and yeah, this has to be done everything manually. With AnalyticsCreator, you have the possibility, when you connect to your source, that automatically the information of the source, the name of the fields, if it's a key, foreign key, and so on, will be automatically integrated and pulled out, yeah, of the source data and integrated in the new database in the ingest layer. And also the type transformation will be automatically recognized and transformed from type of the source to type of the field in the Microsoft database. Yeah. So it's always hard in a manual process when you develop a data warehouse that you show to the business on which step you are. You are deep down in the code and have maybe some small flows in the Visual Studio, Microsoft Visual Studio, or in SQL Server integration services. Just a little one, yeah, not very much. But with AnalyticsCreator, you start developing from a top point of view. So you have your data flows graphically, and you always see where you are right now in the development process. And you can share this overview, this data lineage, to the business function people, line of business. So they can always find out if the process is running right, if the calculation methods of KPIs are correctly, and if the source data is the right one they have chosen. And yeah, you have a great overview of that all. So it's about change management. If you have a manual process to develop a data warehouse, and after some months, weeks, there are some changes about new fields from an ERP system or from any other part of source, you have to change the fields in each layer. So on the ingest layer, on the cleansing, on the calculation layer, and all layers you have in the data warehouse and all views, you have to change this. Yeah, it's just an example. Yeah, there are other things for the change management. With AnalyticsCreator, you change it just on one place. Yeah, you add this one field in the first layer, and automatically the transformations in the next layers will be done automatically, added in each view, and you have the field after, I would say, some minutes in the last representation layer, that you can use it in Power BI or somewhere else. Yeah, it's a matter of just minutes and not a half day. So about a modernization process. So you can now let's talk about if you have a data warehouse in place, for example, a dimensional approach, Kimball or something, and you want to change it to another approach. Yeah, for example, in 5 years or 10 years, they say, oh, okay, there is DataVault 3.0 or Kimball 5.0 or something like this. You have to do everything new. Yeah, you can develop the most of the parts of the data warehouse for sure new. And with AnalyticsCreator, you have the possibility to generate the source code of a new type of architecture, or you use the wizard in AnalyticsCreator, which gives you the possibility of a new modeling, of a new modeling type. And this can be done in hours, for example, for a small project, and not to developing everything new. For example, we have the possibility that when you started with the classical Kimball approach, so the dimensional approach, and you want to add later DataVault 2.0, you can do that. Yeah, we have a wizard, an assistant, which support this process, that you can skip from dimensional model to DataVault model, or better, explain it better in that way, that you can have in the layer under the Kimball layer, the DataVault layer. Yeah, this is automatically possible. Yeah, the same with the target storage layer. So, for example, if you have a Microsoft SQL server as your target storage layer, and you're not sure when you want to skip on Azure or to some other Microsoft database which will come out in future, you just start with SQL server, for example, and later on you can skip automatically without changing many parts of the code to the Azure stack. This is really easy possible. And if you think when you do this manually, if you have no support from a source code engine, yeah, you have to write everything new. Yeah, so the data loading processes are done with SQL Server integration services, and in Azure they will be done with Azure Datafactory. So it's completely different. You have to develop this part, for example, completely new. Yeah, and there's the deployment. The deployment process works, of course, manually through the Visual Studio. This is not that so easy. If you have one version of your data warehouse always already in a running process, and you want to migrate the data warehouse to a new version, you have to do it manually, to transfer the data to the new version, to load everything new. And with AnalyticsCreator, you have an automated deployment process. So everything will be done automatically. If you have a new version, you can deploy the new version, and the migration of the data in the old data warehouse in the new data warehouse will be done automatically. Yes, test, of course, you have to test everything. You have to write test procedures. You have to test your code if it's correctly working. And this is something which runs automatically with AnalyticsCreator. The source code is tested, and yeah, this is really a fine thing. So documentation, yeah, if you, of course, you must document everything, and if you make a handover and you have no documentation, that's bad. And the outcome of AnalyticsCreator is that AnalyticsCreator creates automatically a Word document, yeah, or a Visio document, graphical Visio document. So every field, every connection to the source data, it's clear documented. So somebody is ringing. Sorry. There is yeah, the possibility of a handover. If you do a handover of your project to another guy who do the development, you have, of course, to have a very good documentation, and you have to document also the source code. You have to show it everything on the level on source code, because you have not a holistic data model. With AnalyticsCreator, you have a holistic data model. You can explain everything on the graphical user interface, and the source code is connected always to the yeah, I would say yeah, to the holistic model. And this we found a new word for that. That not only that possible the brain monopoly. Yeah, if you have a developer, then the developer, if he don't do a good documentation, he have everything in his brain, and if he's not anymore there, yeah, in your company, it's the same. If you have a consulting company which supports you, and the consultant is not anymore there because they have another one, then you have a problem. And with AnalyticsCreator, you have what I mentioned already, the holistic data model, and it's easily possible to do a handover much more faster than you do it on the source code layer. Yeah. Okay, that's it on the main processes which we want to explain. Do you have some questions? We can also talk about that. No questions? Okay. We can also talk later at the end of the presentation of Dimitri. So in the next slide, you see the 5-step approach of AnalyticsCreator. So the most things are already explained in the slide before. Just go fast through. AnalyticsCreator have a 5-step approach, and first you connect to your database, and in the second step, AnalyticsCreator automatically pull out the data, not only the data, the metadata, the description of the data, and this will be used to create AnalyticsCreator metadata layer. This is how we say. And on this metadata layer, the intelligent wizard in the third step grab the metadata and offers you a data model, a dimensional data model, or a datavault data model. It depends on the wizard you use. And this is a draft data warehouse. Yeah, from this step, you get a draft data warehouse with all the layers. And in the fourth step, you have the possibility to optimize the model. Yeah, you add, for example, your dimensions, you join other tables or something like that. You do your calculations, your measures. This is something what AnalyticsCreator can't do for you. Yeah, if you want to multiply something or to calculate any measure, this is a manual process. Yeah, and when this fourth process is done, then in the last step, in the fifth step, you deploy it. Yeah, the code will be generated and the structure and everything, and then will everything deployed to Azure or your Microsoft SQL server. Yeah. So this is how it looks. The layers which will be generated by AnalyticsCreator. This is just an example. Yeah. We have a storage layer, the core layer, a data mart layer, and also the in-memory, how we say, tabular analysis layer. Several type of dimensional cubes can be generated. It's the tabular model, of course. We can also generate a Tableau or Click or something like that, and of course Power BI. More and more customers use a new functionality from Microsoft. They like to use the Power BI Premium. This is a very nice thing. It's very cost efficient. It's not that so expensive than the tabular mode and also the cube mode. But Dimitri will explain you later on that. So this example, you can do it how you want. You can have 10 layers if you want. Yeah, this is just something which one type of wizard is generating automatically. So yeah, this is maybe an interesting thing. This is about AnalyticsCreator vision. So we provide always independence for our customers. What does it mean? AnalyticsCreator is a pure design time tool. It means we don't cover the maintenance and the running process, the operative process on your data warehouse. This has many benefits because there is no runtime and no vendor lock on that. So we generate the code, and you can do everything with the code, whatever you want. You can delete after that AnalyticsCreator, and everything will run smoothly on your Microsoft SQL server or in Azure. Yeah, there are no components from us or which are necessary on the running process, on the daily running process. So it means you're really independent. You can do whatever you want. You can use your source code and add some things in there, and don't use AnalyticsCreator anymore if you want. Yeah, but we know that when you like the benefits of AnalyticsCreator, you will use it also not only for the creating process, for the first time of creating process, also for the for the change process and maintenance process from the source code, because you're much more faster. Yeah, and what we do also now is we transfer also the copyrights of the source code, of the generated source code, to the customer or to the partner. There are many, or the most of the competitors we have, you don't get the rights of that. And this is really strange. Yeah? Can't understand that, because here we can. They want to bind you, yeah, on such tool that you cannot cancel the subscription. Yeah, but with AnalyticsCreator you can do that. Okay, we focus 100% on the Microsoft stack. So this is the main thing what we are doing. We want to give the best results on our customer. We don't want to create a data warehouse on Oracle or on Teradata or something else. Yeah, this spread our energy too much. We want to focus and we want to be the best there. And this is what you can tell you, that we have always enough energy to fulfill the Microsoft. The new things on the Microsoft stack. Okay, the next thing is we have an open repository. So everything what is stored, what you see in a holistic data model, it is stored in a Microsoft SQL database. And you can see this also in the database, and you can do your changes also directly in the code, in the meta code. And also you can add your own development. So if you have some ideas to enhance AnalyticsCreator, you can do that. Yeah, we have some partners, they have done some additional developings and some new ideas on AnalyticsCreator, and yeah, this is also possible. So now I see I talked really long, 32 minutes. The next slide I skip, and this is about the use cases of AnalyticsCreator. Anyway, we have more use cases and more detail explained on our new web page. It's pretty new, just 2 or 3 weeks old. You can read that everything on the web page. And now I give the microphone to Dimitri. He will now give you a live presentation of the software and highlight some of the steps I mentioned.
Okay, then I will continue. Can you see my screen, Peter?
Yeah.
Okay. Then, okay, let me start AnalyticsCreator, and now we will try to create the new data warehouse and publish it on Microsoft Azure using Azure SQL Server, Azure Data Factory, and Power BI in cloud. Okay, I started AnalyticsCreator, and now I will create new repository. Let's call it cloud. Cloud DWH, for example, and a new repository or new data warehouse project will be created. We call it repository because the main part of AnalyticsCreator, this is a repository database located on my local SQL server and containing the information about my data warehouse. And this database is creating right now. And okay, a new database or new repository was generated, and now we will start to create our data warehouse. On my demo computer, I have SQL Server installed, and on this SQL Server, I have several databases. One of them is AdventureWorks 2019, and I will use it as a data source for my new data warehouse. I will add new connector. We support different types of connectors, like SQL Server, Oracle, flat files, Excel, AliDB or RDBC data sources. we support SIP. We can read the metadata from SIP directly. We support different kind of other source types like Azure Blob Storage or OData, but now we will use SQL Server. And first I have to give comment. Sure, it is not access but SQL Server. My server name is demo, and initial catalog is AdventureWorks 2019. First connection established successfully, and now I define the connector, and there are several ways how I can create, how I can continue to creating my data warehouse. I will use the data warehouse wizard. Using wizard, I can very briefly create a new draft version of my data warehouse, which I later can modify for very easy. Okay, I will take some tables from human resources schema and department, employee department history, pay history, job candidate, and shift. And I will create the typical Kimball data warehouse. I will import the data. I will historicize the data. I will create dimensions from every table I import, and I will create several fact transformations using employee department history table, employee pay history, and job candidate. Okay. On the next screen, I can decide about the names of my of the objects created in the data warehouse. For example, every dimension will have the dim prefix in the front, the facts will have the fact prefix in the front, and so on. Okay, there are some additional properties which you can define here. For example, we will create the calendar dimension, and this is a time period for calendar dimension. But let's just click on the finish, and now the wizard is analyzing the metadata of my source tables and trying to create the data warehouse. Okay. And here you can see the draft version of the data warehouse created by our wizard. This is a typical layer diagram from the left to the right. First, this is the source layer. You can see here the data sources used in our data warehouse. If I click on the source, I see the structure of the department table, and the column names and so on. Okay. The next layer, this is the staging layer. Staging layer contains the import tables. We import the data from the source layer into the staging layer, and import definition is
Wieso? War so unklar zum Antworten, oder?
Could you wait a little bit? Wait, we should set the bit on mute because it is Peter. Okay, I set the Peter on mute, sorry. Okay, let's continue. The next layer in our data warehouse is staging layer, and we import the data from our sources into the staging layer. We have here, for example, in department table having the same structure like the source table, and the import will be done using import package or import pipeline in case we use Datafactory. And the definition of this import, we can find it here in this IP square. And here you can see first the mapping between the source and the table. Target columns, we can perform here some transformations if we will use, for example, integration service statement to do that. We can define different filters. We can use variables, which we later can use in the filters, and so on. We can configure our data import, for example, to perform the differential data loading using the filter possibilities, and so on. We can define here additional scripts which will be started before and after the import. Okay, that's how the import works. Okay, the next layer, this is the persistent staging layer. The persistent staging layer usually contains the historized data. It is not necessary to historize the data, but we always recommend to historize the data. Because if you work with the historized data, you have access to the previous versions of your data, and that can help you later, maybe in your to build the efficient data warehouse. We support the typical Kimball historizations. That means, for example, if I take a look on the STG department table, this is a historized department table. This table has 3 additional fields. 2 of them, this is .fonthist and .bithist, the names are free configurable. This is a validity period of the specific data row. That means when the data are, or after the import, we compare the imported data with the data stored in the historized table. We detect the changes, and the previous version of the data row will be closed. That means the validity period of this previous version will be restricted to the, for example, actual date, and the new data row with the new values will be added. But the previous version of your data still stored in the historized table, and you have access to the old versions of your data. And one more field, this is this ID field. This is identity column of the type big integer. This is a new surrogate key in the historized table, because we store the history of the changes, and that means that the primary key is not unique in the historized table. For example, we can have several rows with the same department ID, but with a different versions of the data for this department ID, and we need the new primary key, technical primary key called surrogate key, and this is in our case this field that's ID of the type big integer. Surely the name of this field is configurable. Okay, and this is how historization works. And historization will be performed in the historizing package or historizing pipeline. If I click on this HP square, I can see here the historization properties, the settings of the historization. And what I can configure here, for example, for every column in my table, I can decide which historization type I will use. SCD2 means the full historization will be performed. Means if, for example, the column group name was changed, the previous group name will be stored, and the previous value of the group name will be stored in the historized table, and the history of the changes will be stored. I can, for some columns, which history of the changes is not important for me, I can set the historizing type to SCD1. In this case, no history of the changes will be stored in the, for specific field will be stored in the historized table, but the new value of group name will be stored in the historized table, but no history of the changes. Or I can set the historization type to none. In this case, the changes in specific field will be not detected, and you can set it for, you can do it for the columns which are uninteresting for you. Okay, there is a lot of other properties which you can define. For example, you can define different filters to restrict the data which you will historicize. You can use the variables, for example, to define such filters. You can decide what you will do with the data which are missing in the data source. If you will close close the historized data, you can avoid the closing of the historized data, and so on. Okay, this is really you can configure your historization really very widely. And to historize the data, we generate the storage procedures, and the text of the historization storage procedure you can see here. And even you can modify this storage procedure if you set the historization storage procedure type to manually created. You can modify the storage procedures if you want. It's possible too. You can define additional scripts which will be executed before and after historization. How the historization work. The next layer in our data warehouse, this is a core layer. Usually the core layer will be used to transform your relational data into the facts and dimensions. And here we can see, for example, this team department. We create the dimension team department, which will be later used in our data Mart layer. And this blue square, this is transformation. And the usual transformation in AnalyticsCreator, this is a view. We support different types of transformations. This is a regular transformation. This is a view created by AnalyticsCreator based on this definition. And then you can create your own views. In this case, it will be the manual transformation. We support SQL scripts, we support storage procedure, we support externally created integration service packages, or even exe files or batch files you can use as transformations. But the typical transformation, the usual transformation in AnalyticsCreator, this is a view. In this case, you can see this view. It's pretty easy. There is only one table used in this transformation, the STG department. And here you can see the list of the tables. We just got every column from the department table and used them in this transformation. Nothing specific. I can take a look on the view created by AnalyticsCreator. Maybe one interesting thing, this is a predefined transformation. Let me explain you what is a predefined transformation. I will delete every predefined transformation. And let's take a look on the view. Okay, we can see every field in this table will be exposed by the view without any change. Sometimes it is necessary to perform some statements, to perform some transformations based on the field type. For example, we will remove leading and trailing spaces from every string column. Surely you can do it for every column separately using the statement column, or you can use predefined transformation trim. If I use a predefined transformation trim, then every varchar and term varchar field will be modified using ltrim and rtrim statements. If I take a look on my view, I can see here name is equal rtrim ltrim from t.t1.name. The same will be done with group name column, because predefined transformation will be applied for every column or column of the type varchar or nvarchar. Or let me use one more transformation, the string null to na. For example, this transformation or predefined transformation should convert every null string to the string n.a. And let me take a look on my view. You can see here first rtrim, ltrim, and then is null group name n.a. This is just the very easy but very powerful way how to perform some transformations based on the field type. We provide you with some predefined transformations. You can find them here, but you can surely modify every predefined transformation which we give you, or you can create your own predefined transformations. It's absolutely no problem as well. Then let's take a look on the effect transformation. I will set the filter. If I set the filter, only the object depending on the filtered object will be shown. Okay, I just set the filter to employee department history transformation. This is the effect transformation. AnalyticsCreator recognized that the tables employee department history, employee department shift have the relationships and created the effect transformation for us. And if I take a look on this effect transformation, I can see here on the bottom, this is the list of the tables. We have 4 tables here in this transformation. The main table is employee department history, and this table is joined to department, employee, and shift table. On the right side, we can see the foreign keys or relationships used to perform this join. AnalyticsCreator analyzed, found that in the source table, the employee department history is referenced to department, to employee, and to the shift table, imported this reference definitions, and we can use such references in AnalyticsCreator. Well, and here you can see every table will be listed here on the top, and the list of the columns using its surrogate key. Surrogate key, this is the SATS ID column. You can see the SATS ID column. This is a surrogate key from every historized table, because every table here in this list, this is the historized table, and we expose only the surrogate key from every table, historized table, in our effect transformation. And later, this effect transformation will be used in our data Mart layer as effect table, and can be joined to the dimension tables using the surrogate keys. Important is that every table here, this is a historized table, and it's pretty difficult to join historized tables together because the usual business primary keys are not unique, and therefore it is pretty difficult to join such tables together. And to join the tables, to create such effect transformation, we use the specific snapshot historization. Let's take a look on this view created by AnalyticsCreator. And you can see the first table in this view. This is a snapshot table. Snapshot table, this is a part of every data warehouse created by AnalyticsCreator, and this table contains the dates. This table contains at least one data row with the current date, and this date is stored in the column snapshot date. And imagine there is only one row in this snapshot table with the actual date, and then we get from every historized table only the data actual which are valid or actual for specific snapshot date, using this where condition snapshot date between .onHist and .bishist. This condition will be used with every joined historized table. That means we get from every joined historized table only the data which are valid for this, which were valid for specific snapshot date. And then we can use the business key references like department is equal department, or business entity ID is equal business entity ID, and so on, to join the tables together. In case there is only one row in the snapshot table with the actual date, this fact transformation will expose only the actual date. But we can add more snapshots to the snapshot transformation, for example, end of the last month. And in this case, we can get access not only to the actual date data in our, not only to the actual data in our fact transformation, but to the previous versions of our data. And snapshot table later will be used as snapshot dimension in our data mart layer, and using the snapshot dimension, if you will define several snapshots, you can have access to the previous versions of your data. It's not necessary, but sometimes it is really very interesting to be able to have access to the old versions of the data. Well, that's how the such fact transformations work. Let me extend this fact transformation. I will add calendar dimension to this fact transformation. Let me show you. AnalyticsCreator wizard created for us calendar dimension. This is this view, team calendar. This is just the view which provide us with calendar information, and I will use this calendar information in my fact transformations. First, in the table employee department history, there are two dates. This is a start date and finish date. Start and finish. Oh, sorry, end date. This is date when the specific employer started to work in the specific department and finished to work in the department. Save. Okay, but instead of the date, I will have in my fact transformation ID from calendar dimension. And to do that, I can use macros. Macros is an interesting feature of AnalyticsCreator. Let me show you how it works. I add here the date to ID macro. Date to ID macro will convert the start date into ID from calendar dimension. Let me rename the column into FK start date, like foreign key to start date, and FK end date. Okay, and you can see here the statement date to ID. And what is it? Let me show you. Macros, date to ID macro, edit macro. Macro, this is just the SQL statement, transactor SQL statement, where specific parts are replaced, or specific places are replaced by placeholder. This is double.1, this is just a placeholder, and later when we call this macro, this double.1 will be replaced by the first macro call parameter. We support different languages. You can see them here. In our case, this is just transactor SQL statement. And this transactor SQL statement should convert the date, if we use the date as a first parameter, as a parameter in this macro, into ID from calendar dimensions. It just calculates the number of dates here using this date diff function. It calculates the number of days between 90 and 80 1st January and the date which we use together with this macro. And if I call this macro in my employee department history transformation, let's take a look. Take a look on the view created by AnalyticsCreator. You can see this macro call was replaced by this macro statement, and double.1 was replaced by this t1.startDate. Same this with the end date. Okay, you can see start date and date as the ID from calendar dimension. Okay, I will do the same with employee pay history. We have here, for example, in the car. Sorry, this is the wrong one. The dimension. Where is my fact transformation? There is my fact transformation. Exactly. Employee pay history. In the employee pay history, there is a rate change date. I think this is a date of the specific salary. And we will add calendar macro and call it FK rate change date and save. Okay, well, we can add here the default volume. So, okay, job candidate. I'm not sure if there is a calendar dimension. I think no, there is no calendar dimension. The job candidate, therefore we don't need calendar dimension and job candidate fact transformation. Okay, and one more thing which I will do, this fact transformations like employee department history, employee pay history, and job candidates, pretty complex views, and to speed up access to such views, I will materialize the views, or I will persist the views. To do that, I can add the persisting. I should click on add and persisting, and the content of the view will be stored in the table. The table name you can see here. Here I should select the name of the persistent package or persisting pipeline in case if we will use Azuredatafactory. We have no persisting package, therefore I will enter here the new name, and okay, I will do the same with employer pay history at persisting. In this case, I will use already existing persisting package, and I will do the same with job candidate at persisting job candidate. Finish. Okay, but and now I will click on the synchronize DWH button. It's very important button. If I click on the synchronize DWH, the oops, it was wrong. Sorry, I created here the persisting of the dimension I needed. I will persist effect transformation. Sorry, add persisting effect transformation. Finish. Okay. Well, exactly. If I click on the synchronize DWH button, one important thing will be done. The new empty database with the structure of my data warehouse, which I defined here, will be created on my SQL server. This database is called, show you, refresh. It's called dwh underscore and then like the name of my repository. In our case, this is Cloud DWH. And this database contains all objects, all tables, all views which I defined here in this model. When we create such data warehouse, such empty data warehouse or such empty database, we can check if the syntax of every transformation is correct. We can read some additional information about, for example, the object dependencies and so on from this generated database. And for example, I can, if I did something wrong in my transformation, let me, for example, add here the column, no sense. It's just an error. If I take a look on my view, I see here something wrong, but AnalyticsCreator doesn't know if it is correct or not what I did. But if I click on synchronize dwh, and AnalyticsCreator is creating to materialize my model, we see there is an error message during synchronization, and this error message is invalid column name in the transformation deemed employer. Sure, I can see this red border, and I have to modify my transformation to fix this error. Okay, the same error I would get if I click here on the button create and dwh invalid column name. But anyway, synchronize dwh is very important. Let me remove this wrong column. Create and dwh successful. Okay, I can click again on synchronize and data warehouse, and now I can see that my model is correct. At least there is no syntax errors in my transformations. Well, then let's take a look on the data. First, regarding the persisting. As I said, we persist the content of the employee department history view in the table employee department history T _T. And this persisting will be done using this persisting package or persisting pipeline. And to persist the data, we create for every persisting a separate storage procedure, and we support different types of persisting. The usual persisting, this is a full persisting. That means that that persisting table will be cleaned before historization, then will be filled up every time new. And this is the typical full materialization or full persisting. We support different kinds of differential persisting or merge persisting, for example, historical persisting, incremental only persisting, or even you can create your own persisting procedure. If you select here the persisting type as manual, you can modify the storage procedure generated by us, and you can add the own logic into the persisting storage procedure. Well, next or last layer in our data warehouse, this is a data mart layer. Data mart layer contains the dimensions and the facts. Let me, for example, here set the filter on employee department history fact transformation, and now I can see only the objects which my fact transformation depends on, and here are the different dimensions, for example, used in this together with this fact transformation. How the data mart layer will be created. If I click on Mart core layer transformation, there is one small table, stars, and here I can see in which star my specific core layer transformation should be used. We have our dwh wizard created for us one data star called star, and dim department will be used as dimension dim department in this star. The same, for example, is for employee department fact transformation that will be used in this star as fact employee department history, and this is a fact transformation. Okay, this is how the objects in the data mart layer will be created. What is important, or what I can do here in this data mart layer? Later, when I create my, for example, tabular OLAP models, the structure of the data mart layer will be used to create the Power BI models. And here, in the data mart layer, I can define some Power BI specific features of for my OLAP cubes. For example, I can create here the measures, and or I can define here the references between the objects in my data mart layer. If I click here on this T-square of my fact transformation, I will see the tabular definition of this fact transformation, which columns, for example, my fact transformation contains. And I can see, for example, the FK department column for the OLAP will be joined to my dimension team department. FK employer column will be joined to the column team employer, and so on. I can see, for example, but interesting is here is the calendar dimension. We have here two calendar columns, start date and end date, but I cannot join two columns with the same table team calendar. Therefore, there is only one column joined to the team calendar, the start date, but end date remains unjoined, and we can join it to the calendar dimension, but we will create a new dimension based on the dim calendar in our core layer. Let's do it. Let's call it dim end date. Good. Okay, I will change this name. Okay, dim end date and dim calendar. Maybe I will change the name of this dimension to dim start date. But let's save it a moment. Remove filter. Let's take a look on employee pay history. We have here rate change date as the calendar dimension, but I would create additional dimension based on this column. We'll call it dim rate change date. Dim rate change date. Okay. Very good. And let me take a look. You can see this dim calendar dimension in core layer will be exposed as three different dimensions in the data mart layer: dim end date, dim rate change date. Okay, dim calendar, let's rename dim calendar into dim start date. You can see here three dimensions. Dim start date. This is start date for employee pay history. Okay, synchronize dwh, and now you can see there. Okay, for example, set filter. You can see employee department history is related to two different calendar dimensions: dim start date and dim end date. Let's add some measures to these fact transformations. I can do it here in the measure tab. Okay, I can do it here in the measure tab. Let me add, for example, department, then distinct count of departments, distinct count of employees, for example. Okay, maybe distinct count of lifts. Okay, created three new measures. Here you can see one interesting feature of AnalyticsCreator. You can, of course, define your own measure name for every measure, but measure names should be unique, for example, for tabular OLAP cubes, and we can help you to create names of your measures based on the specific template. For example, you can see this is a template for the measure names, aggregation name, auth column name, table name. You can use this template every time, and all your measures will be unique. In the column parsed measure name, you can see how your measure will be called in your data warehouse. But of course, you can create your own measure. You can use your own measure names. Well, let's create some measures in other fact transformations. Remove filter. Here, for example, I will create distinct count of employer. Save. And here in the job candidate, I would create another measure. It's distinct count of employer. Okay. Well, our data warehouse is almost complete. Let me store the model. I can save this model either in the file or in the cloud. Let me store it in the cloud. Okay, cloud dwh, why not? Important is when I store the repository in the cloud, this is our cloud, and every AnalyticsCreator user has own account in our cloud and can store the repositories in the cloud. If I store this repository in the cloud again, for example, now, the previous version of the stored repository will be not replaced, but you can every time load the previous version of your repository. For example, story cloud dwh. You can see if I click on this triangle, I can see the previous version of my repository and can load it. Therefore, it's some kind of version controlling. Every time you store your repository in the cloud, the previous versions still remain available and you can load it again. Well, and of course you can store your repository into the file. It will be just the usual SQL file containing the SQL definition of your repository. Okay. And you can, for example, use this stored SQL file together, save it in your Git repository in your version controlling system. It is possible too. Okay, now we created the model of our data warehouse, but it is not the data warehouse, it's just the model. And we will publish this model on the cloud. Which cloud environment do we have? Let me show you. First, we have the SQL Server in cloud. This is our Azure SQL Server. On this SQL Server, we have an empty database called AV. This database is empty. You can see there is no table, no view. This database is completely empty. Then we have, oops, sorry, not Chrome, but Microsoft Edge. Okay, what we have more? We have Azure Data Factory. This Azure Data Factory we will use to perform the ETL processes. This Azure Data Factory is empty too. You can see no pipelines, no data sets, no linked servers. The only what we have here in this Azure Data Factory, there are two integration service runtimes. One of them is bound to our demo computer with AdventureWorks database, and the second one is bound to our Azure SQL Server. Okay, and the next one. Okay, this is our Power BI server. This very important. We have we have here different workspaces. Okay, one of them, this is this AV workspace, and this AV workspace, this is Azure Premium workspace, and this workspace can be accepted using XML. As this workspace has an XML endpoint and can be accessed using this XML endpoint. Let me show you how it works. I have here this Power BI XML endpoint and can connect it, and I hope it works. Moment. Exactly. You can see I can access my Power BI, my Power BI XML endpoint. At the moment, there is no database in my Power BI, but we will create a new dataset, new database on this Power BI in cloud. Okay, and now I will generate the deployment package, and I will deploy my project directly from AnalyticsCreator. I'm creating new deployment. Let's call it Azure deployment. The deployment package in AnalyticsCreator, this is a Visual Studio solution, and this solution can be deployed everywhere. But it is possible not only to create this deployment package, but additionally we can deploy directly from AnalyticsCreator. Usually you will deploy your productive environments manually without AnalyticsCreator, but for development or test environments you can use the deployment capabilities of AnalyticsCreator. Well, let me explain what we can do when we create the deployment package. First, we will create the DECPAC file. The DECPAC file contains the definition of our data warehouse or of our relational database. This is the most modern way how to deploy the SQL Server databases. And we will not only create DECPAC file, but we will deploy DECPAC file. If we will deploy DECPAC file, we should put here the name of the SQL Server where we will deploy our data warehouse. Let me take the name of our data. Okay, this is in our case AnalyticsCreator database Windows.net. DB name is AV, already existing database, and I will use standard security with specific username and password. As next, I will create, you can see on the right side, different packages or pipelines which AnalyticsCreator can generate, and we will generate Azure Data Factory ARM template containing the import pipeline, historizing pipeline, persisting pipeline, workflow pipeline. Okay, and then we will deploy tabular OLAP model into our Power BI Premium environment. And we have to add here the name of our OLAP server. And okay, this is my Power BI account. We should put here the name of our environment called AV, already exists. As this environment already exists. Okay. Very important, we should set the compatibility level of our Power BI model, of our tabular OLAP cube Power BI. Okay, create cube during deployment, that's correct. Okay, and okay, create perspectives, not important. Okay, what is important? Okay, here I can set the compatibility level of my DECPAC to 2019. I think I forgot nothing. Let me save my deployment package and click on deploy. And now the deployment package will be generated, and DECPAC file will be now created and will be deployed to our Azure SQL Server. Then Azure Data Factory ARM template will be generated. Let's wait a little bit. Okay, our OLAP cube. At the moment our SQL Server database will be deployed. Okay, now the tabular OLAP cube will be deployed, or tabular model or tabular data set will be generated and deployed to our tabular OLAP cube. Okay, and I think we deployed our model. Let's take a look what do we have right now. Okay, first our SQL Server, this database, refresh. Now we can see this database isn't empty now, but there are different tables and views in this database. This is the structure of our data warehouse. Then let me call Azuredatafactory, and I will import the ARM template created by AnalyticsCreator into our Azure Data Factory. To do that, one moment, please. Exactly where put ARM template. Exactly. Import ARM template. Okay, build your own ARM template, load file. Now I will select the subdirectory created by AnalyticsCreator, deployment, and this is this one. Every time when we create the new deployment package, a new directory and deployment directory will be created. And there is cloud dwh.json file. This is an ARM template generated by AnalyticsCreator. Click on Save. Okay, AnalyticsCreator. And wait a moment, at the minus factory. This is the name of our data factory. AC minus factory. That's correct. Review and create. And create. And now Azure Data Factory is importing the ARM template created by AnalyticsCreator. Okay, new deployment is complete. Let's take a look on it. Very well. And yes, our data factory now contains the pipelines which we defined for him, and we should configure the imported pipeline. First, what we have to do, we have here two linked services. First of them is should be bound to our source database. This is this AV linked service, and we will bind it to the integration service runtime demo. This is our integration service runtime, which is working on our demo server containing Azure AdventureWorks 2019 database. We'll use Windows authentication and try to test connection successful. Okay, and the second linked service is the DWH service. This service should be linked to the auto-resolve integration runtime. This is our main runtime connected to our Azure SQL server. We will use Azure subscription, Microsoft partner, server name, database AV, SQL authentication, and well, test connection. Bye. Okay, we just bound these two linked services to the according integration service runtimes. Let's take a look on the pipelines generated by AnalyticsCreator. First, there is a workflow pipeline. Workflow pipeline should be executed to fulfill the full ETL process. There are three other pipelines which will be executed by workflow package or workflow pipeline. First of them, this is import pipeline. Let me take a look on it. Import pipeline. Here in the import pipeline, we just use the copy data brick to import the data from one database into another database, and so on. Well, there's nothing specific, it's just a common functionality of Azuredatafactory. We use copy data bricks, we use to historize the data, we use execute storage procedure bricks. The same bricks will be used to execute the persisting, and so on. Just the common Azuredatafactory functionality. Let's execute this workflow package. I hope it will work. I clicked on debug, and we should wait a little bit. I hope all the data will be imported from our Azure data from our AdventureWorks 2019 database into the new Azure Data Factory database. Okay, in progress. Still in progress. Wait a little bit. Or maybe well, let's take a look on our Power BI model during the import or ETL processes running. This is our Power BI model, and you can see in the AV workspace there is the new data set called AV. This is our tabular OLAP model or Azure Power BI data set generated by AnalyticsCreator. Now we have to change to add here the credentials for our SQL Server, data source credentials, edit credentials. Okay, we only have to click on sign in, I hope, and okay, credentials are ready. Now our Azure data, now is our Power BI dataset is ready and can be used to create the Power BI reports. Let's take a look if okay, in progress. Historization is in progress. We should wait a little bit. Okay, historization is complete. Now the persisting will be performed. Okay, you can see the data loading is finished. Let's check if we have the data now in our data warehouse. For example, let's take a look on the imp employer table. Yes, we can see the data were imported into our Azure SQL Server Azure database. Okay, and let's go to the Power BI and let's refresh our Let's refresh our AV dataset. I clicked on refresh. Now it is refreshing, I hope. I hope it was refreshed successfully. I'm not sure, but I think it's refreshed. Okay, and now we can create the I don't know. We can create the report, for example, or let's just click on Get Quick Insights, and Microsoft will try to create, I don't know, something for us. The insights will be generated based on the data stored in this dataset. I'm not sure if it has sense, but new insights, and okay, you can see Microsoft created some insights for us based on the data stored in this dataset. Therefore, now you can create your own reports for this data set, and as you can see, we just created from scratch the new data warehouse and published it into the Microsoft Cloud. We created the SQL Server database. We created Azure Datafactory pipelines to load the data, and we created the Power BI in Cloud model. And this model you can use now to create your own reports. Well, it's and we how many time we used to create this data warehouse, less than 1 hour. I think very good time. Okay, Peter, I'm done. I'm finished.
Yes, I'm back. Hello. So
Hi.
some people have to leave us. We just two customer here. Yeah, that's it. So you have some questions. Johan, you have maybe some questions. Also, maybe on the processes you can automate, which I mentioned before.
Yes, no, so everything's clear, Peter. Thank you very much. That was very interesting with the cloud possibilities of AnalyticsCreator.
Yes.
So thanks for this.
Very good, thank you.
And it is very important, the same model can be deployed on premise, of course, or you can deploy some part of the model on premise and some parts of the model in the cloud. And the model remains unchanged. This is only a deployment question, how and where you will deploy your model. You can, for example, first deploy everything on premise and then start to use Power BI to deploy only the tabular model. And later you can, instead of using as integration service, use Azure Datafactory and so on. It is, and the model remain unchanged.
Okay, very good, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks a lot for joining us. And in 2 weeks we have our next presentation about SAP. We have one time in a year we show the use case deploying at SAP. So this we have in 2 weeks, and 2 weeks more at the 10th and 11th November we have our annual AnalyticsCreator Congress. We have many interesting demonstrations there from customers, from partners, and some pretty new things will be announced soon. You will find it next week. There is one more slot for next week. We'll announce it at our agenda at Eventbrite. At our we show our agenda. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, have a nice day, have a nice weekend, and see you soon.
Yeah, see you soon.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.